All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Friday edition of the AM show, hosted live on AlphaMint. Um, Today is an interesting day as we say goodbye to NFTs, and we are now a purebred shitcoin degen show. So, as always, I am Clout Cobain, and joined with me by the man who just sold all of his JPEGs to trade shitcoins, Mr. Free Market.
By a hurricane that is sweeping through New York in furious fashion right now. And yes, it is Degen Dojo has lived up to the name.
Yes,
Certainly yesterday.
as you would say, skating to where the puck is. A big pivot in the Degen Dojo as we move from NFTs to all manner of shit coins that are being dropped. So before we get into that, I just want to say today is my first full day as on the AlphaMint team. Yesterday was my last day in the restaurant industry, so I had a lot to wrap up there. I spent most of the day working, and then had some celebratory drinks after, which took me late into the evening. I am struggling a little bit here, so if I run away, it might be to the bathroom. But other than that, yeah, we should be good. But I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for the support, and especially thanks to Scott, Drip Cult, and to NVO for bringing me on. I mean, it means so much to me, and I'm so excited for this chapter in my life. I think it's going to be a big win for me. So
They are really just incredibly good-looking and handsome people. I just want to say that.
yeah, I can't say enough good things about them. So I also do want to just give everybody the heads up, all four of you, that I do have an internet technician coming in sometime. They're doing one of those. We're going to be here between 8 and 12, which means they'll probably be here at about 5. So I'm sitting here and waiting for them. But if they do show up in the middle of this, I will have to cut the show short. You can probably stand up here on stage and bring some people up and talk for hours. And actually, speaking of which, we had a lot of people up on the stage at the end of last show, and that kind of transitioned into voice chat in the AlphaMint channels there, and some pretty crazy stuff happening in real time.
Yeah, we are entering a new phase in the Ether Orc game. For people who don't know, this is the first on-chain RPG that is orc, medieval, Lord of the Rings themed type of RPG where you do multiple actions within a contract on chain to level up your orcs to different rarities and pillage certain, loot pools. And now the next phase is going to be collecting something called bone shards. So with any game, you need a low barrier to entry so that people can come into it. And with most of these NFT projects, especially the Genesis drops, they get expensive pretty quickly. Orcs have pulled back a lot, but even now the cheapest orc will run you $3,000, which is a little more than most people pay for a video game. So the idea is that you have these Genesis characters that are going to produce the in-game currency, in this case called Zug, which is a pretty typical model that we're seeing right now. And we are going to now use both Zug and the level of our orc, which you had to train up to a certain level, to pillage bone shards and create a new character for the game, which are shamans. All right. Orcs are about 0.6 right now, or 0.7. I haven't checked since yesterday.
Yeah, just over 0.6 right now on OpenSea.
Right, and we would expect shamans, which are going to have a higher supply than orcs, to be less valuable. They don't produce Zug, but they're going to have other utility in the game, which should be appealing to new players. They're going to create potions, and these potions will aid in how fast one can raid and collect bone shards, and it's a certain number of bone shards per shaman created. So this is like a new minting phase. You're going to create these new characters. They'll be much cheaper than 0.6. Now, there will be a ratio. As orcs rise, these shamans will rise. But as where orcs are now, you would expect these to open around 0.1 or 0.2. And we'll see how much demand there are for people to get into the game. But yesterday, all the orcers in the AlphaMint Orc Horde got together and started to talk strategy and the finer points of doing this. But that was carried on long after the show yesterday.
Yeah, so the first iteration of the Ether Orcs game, AlphaMint kind of went all in on. I mean, it turned into like a full time job. Like I think people were calling in sick to manage the Orcs. Um, there was a lot going on with it, and it ended up being, I would say, an incredible success. As our small band of merry traders ended up kind of leading the Orc pack, so to speak, and having I think for a while one of the largest hordes. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And, success depends on how you view it, right? When Orcs debuted, they were getting about 4 Ethereum on average right away as people sold and decided not to play the game. Now, had you ventured on your own and just tried to go at it without pooling, which is what AlphaMint did, you would have come away with a lot less value at the end of the game than you started with. So for most people, if you were looking at this economically, the play was to sell immediately. Now for AlphaMint, we managed to pool effectively, and that did 2 things for us. Okay, it allowed us to take 1 orc and level him, and this came into handy later in the game as the really rare loot pools, which gave you items to make your orc more rare and increase how much Zug your orc earned. You needed a very high level orc. And if you had just decided to farm from the beginning, you may have had 5 or 6 orcs at the end, but you wouldn't have had a high level orc. And if you had decided to level up from the beginning, maybe you would have had 3 orcs at the end and 1 high level. But as we know, orcs fell to about 1 Ethereum at the end of the game. Now, because AlphaMint pooled, each player walked away with about 8 orcs. So we had the exact same value at the beginning of the game as we did at the end of the game, minus the gas we had paid, but with the potential to now take our very high level orc and turn him into a very rare orc or even an orc god, as some people not in AlphaMint unfortunately did. And that was the best way to play the game, we thought at the time. We can Monday morning quarterback and see that there were more economically beneficial ways to play the game, but I think AlphaMint killed it. And now as we go into this next phase, we're trying to see if there's a similar pooling strategy that we can come up with. I won't go into the finer points of what was talked about, but that's the basic overview here. And I'll tell you, if you're a nerd in crypto or gaming or on-chain, and it's a lot of fun. So if this new barrier to entry is pretty low, and you've been looking at this could be an opportunity coming up here.
Yeah, so I guess the general consensus is that you guys are going in on this again.
We think we don't know. There's a lot of math to analyze because I'll throw some charts up even in the general chat about how these, what they're calling raids to get bone shards work. The higher level your orc is, the greater type of raid it can go on, which just means that it has a higher percentage to get more bone shards. Raiding takes 8 days, so your orc is parked, not earning Zug, and going on this raid for 8 days to collect these bone shards. So there are quite a few strategies that are being discussed and contemplating, so we're not sure if it's a pooling situation or we kind of just collaborate on what each person does individually and look at the pluses and minuses of different strategies.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Maz, who did his first solo show last night with the Orcs. Did you get a chance to watch that?
This is the first thing I'm doing after the show. I fell asleep last night putting the kid to sleep, which is a regular occurrence now, and I am so excited to listen to that. The devs have been going on quite the PR push, Twitter Spaces, and now on Bazinga, and I'm really excited to listen to that after the show.
Yeah, me too. I have it queued up. I'm going to include the link in the show notes and drop it in the AM show chat, but always love to see AlphaMint members doing great things like that. And speaking of which, we have Chris in the listening to the show right now, and him and Maz have a really great show that I try and catch. I believe it's every Tuesday and Thursday, around 2 p.m. If I'm not mistaken. So we have some really talented people here in AlphaMint, and keep a watch out for those things. Also in the chat yesterday, the voice chat, a lot of shitcoin trading going on too. So a general overview of the crypto market right now is that there was that kind of pullback that we were expecting, not a substantial one, but Ethereum's dropped down to about 4,600. Bitcoin's chilling at about 64,000. Binance, Solana, Cardano, everything's kind of down in that like 2 to 5% range, and just kind of getting ready for some relaxation over the weekend. Normally, you don't see a ton of price action except for maybe a bit of a dump on the weekends, but those things are true until they're not. But the shit coins continue to play strong. Actually, the one thing that I wanted to show that I found on Decrypt this morning was that what's that?
All right. You may have cut out there for a second. I'm not sure if anyone could hear.
Oh, sorry.
Crypto in general, I think your biggest risk in these big legs up that we see is that sentiment shifts quickly. Like, you see crypto Twitter go from dejected to bullish up only really fast. And in any market, in any trading atmosphere, sentiment tends to be really need to be reset before you can make those next legs above, especially all-time highs. So I think that's really just what you're seeing here. People got a little too bullish. I don't expect this correction to go too deep. I would expect shitcoins and alts to lead out of whatever this mini pullback develops into, and then I think spot will rally with it to new all-time highs. And then we'll see what happens after that, a large correction or maybe more consolidation.
Yeah, one of the words we've used pretty frequently on this is a supply crisis. And I pulled up an article on Decrypt that I found this morning, and only 13% of Bitcoin's total supply remains on exchanges.
Wow.
That's, we talk about NFTs, the floor being thin, and we look at, a 10K drop only having like 900 for sale total, or even less. Like, we're getting into those numbers with Bitcoin's total supply. And basically just says the vast majority of Bitcoin supply hasn't been touched since August.
Incredible. And you're seeing it now with Bitcoin and Ethereum being deflationary. Whatever correction I think happens here will probably be shallow, and when sentiment is reset, I think our next leg is coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I think people realize the scarcity of these assets, and now the mentality has just shifted from degen trading. Well, I mean, the shitcoin trading is obviously still going on, but like the overall like Ethereum and Bitcoin, like people are just holding those for dear life. Because I think the general sentiment for people in crypto that especially go down the rabbit hole is that this is the future, right? Like, I can't give this up. Why would I sell any of this for fiat, which in the last, 18 months we've just seen be devalued by a lot. So,
it's really hard to change your crypto into fiat for philosophical reasons, and in most countries around the world, that's when taxation happens. So that is a big factor in how diamond-handed crypto investors tend to be.
So a couple of the shit coins that we talked about yesterday was probably nothing. That looks on the charts like it's probably nothing right now.
This is like a routine. Who's on first? Right?
I love it.
Right.
Yeah. It's just there's so many good use cases for probably nothing. But yeah, it's from the time we talked about it yesterday, it's actually almost even. It's kind of fluctuated between a mild 5x and down a little bit. So probably nothing there. GM coin, it's a healthy looking chart there where it's just kind of, since its onset, has just gone up and to the right. A little bit of pullback, but some people in AlphaMint doing very, very, very well. Did you buy any GM coin?
I didn't buy any GM coin, but these things, that these really small market caps that then become hot trends, they pull 50% back all the way up. And the thing is, as you go higher and higher, those 50% pullbacks look really tiny as the chart zooms. But early on, they look like the most violent, crazy things you've ever seen. So you can ask Lucas, GM had violent pullbacks on the way up, very similar to what's happening in these other coins people aped into, and eventually the chart just looks up and to the right.
Yeah, that one's been incredible for anybody that got into that early, or even just in the last 2 days. Like when we were talking about it yesterday, it looks like there's a huge green candle around 9 a.m. yesterday, which is definitely when we started pumping it because our viewership is probably pumping those bags. But no, really, around 9 a.m. yesterday, it just went absolutely insane, and then it went straight up for about 4 straight hours, and then it's had those violent swings. So good on anybody that was able to capitalize on that. And if you are still holding at this point, I mean, you have hands of diamond.
Yes, these things are certainly getting tired. That our NFT chat room yesterday went full shitcoin degen right as I made my first live purchase on the show of probably nothing, at which point all of a sudden Vibe popped up in front of my face. And I'm a technical analyst at heart. So when I saw the chart, I knew that this was a much better play than probably nothing. And I'm like, shit, am I going to spend the gas and just cancel this? I was like, no. So I threw something into that as well.
Into Vibe.
That starts to go, into Vibe.
Right.
That starts to go parabolic. And as that happens, Shub throws up a even more beautiful chart of something called We're Gonna Make It, or WGMI. And holy man, this thing goes 2040x while we're watching it over the course of like 2 hours. And then someone dumps, I don't remember if it was 27E. It was a really large dump. It fell like 90%.
I'm looking at this chart right now.
Oh my God. This is classic what happens. Now, these are all going to go to zero. Let me just put this disclaimer out to anybody who's thinking about these things right now. They're all going to zero. Now, of these shit coins, apparently the ones that are the least shitty are probably nothing, and Vibe, and of course Good Morning, which was made by the dev that created Australian Shepherd, or Ass. So she's a bit of an all-star within the community, given how much Ass and Cum ran in the early parts of this year. That sounds weird, but I'm not
fucking
kidding,
love crypto,
right?
man. Like I remember when the cum rocket shitcoin was just going absolutely nuts, and it was just like it was half the reason why it was getting any play was just because people were memeing the shit out of it. It's amazing.
The memeability, right? Exactly. So it's natural that every cycle, whatever the hot memes are, you're gonna get the pump and dumps based around them. So
also, just be careful when you're Googling some of these shit coins, because if you don't have safe search on.
Right. Always write crypto after whatever your first 2 keywords are. It's
actually,
own,
I will say this, actually, honestly, like from a real, like, protect yourself kind of way, just because these things are listed on like dexes and stuff like that. Like if you search WGMI, there's like 5 of them. So if you're aping into something because a bunch of other people are, make sure you're even just getting the right coin contract.
I always double check. The chart tends to be posted, the Dex tools info and chart. I always go double check and copy the exact contract and put it into the Dex. I don't type the letters and see what comes up, because there are so many coins with the same, tagline. So it basically, I'm still in Vibe and PS. Now, Vibe ended up going, I think, 10x in front of our eyes over an hour, and then it itself pulled back 80%. I haven't looked at it in a day because I've done these type of trends before. I was in a 50x in February. And as it went from $1 to $50, it pulled back 50 to 80%, maybe 10 times. I mean, it was the most stressful hold of my life, because as that position got bigger and bigger, holding becomes harder and harder, as we all know. So it is very difficult to hold these things because they have natural 50% swings as large players decide, I'm taking my 200 ETH and going home. So I don't know whether it was the top, whether these have more legs. I'm holding these because of supposed announcements that are coming either over the weekend or next week for both of them. They have quote unquote real teams behind them. I know that at the very least Vibe is NFT focused. I don't know if they're going to try to spin it into one of these DAOs. That's the popular play now. So that's basically it. You know, the Degen Dojo has been all shitcoin for about 24 hours. Even this morning, they were talking about Friends and Ser, or Sir, you know, but Friends and Ser were what was making people money this morning. I had woken up late. This was Euro action. And Maz, which it's 3:15 a.m. on the West Coast when I had started chatting, was still up shitcoining. So it just shows how good the action is right now.
Yeah, love it, but it is not for the faint of heart. So it's one of those things like it does feel like the ICO boom in 2017, 2018, where it was just like everybody was just frantically chasing each one around and then just dumping one, moving to the next, and then every time there was somebody left with like just a massive bag in some of these. So shades of that for sure.
Everyone wants to be the SHIB guy. Everyone thinks they're going to be the guy with 5.8 billion. The day it got up to 100 million and fell to 40 million the next day, would you have held? That's you can't even conceive what it takes to hold.
That right? Was the thing about the SHIB coin guy, was that like I think he like essentially forgot about it, right? Because you can't buy $8,000 of a shit coin and then when it runs up to $80 million sit there and be like, nope, I've got another 100x in this motherfucker. Like, it just doesn't work like that.
Impossible. So you want to be that guy, but I'll tell you, when I say, like yesterday, I said I'm walking away for 2 days and I'm not gonna look, and I'm sure it's minus 80% right now. And if I looked, I'd have a bad feeling in the pit of my stomach. You just hodl. I took my ENS profits from yesterday. I took a small amount of each of them and threw them into these coins. If they go to zero, it sucks, but I'm still walking away a winner from ENS, and that's kind of how I look at them. It's a really difficult thing to hold, and you should really be playing with the house's money.
Hey, some of the hardest people to play in poker were the ones that were free rolling after a certain point.
Oh yeah, no question.
Just the fearlessness.
Nothing to lose.
Yeah,
Nothing
exactly.
To lose.
So, I mean, good for you. Speaking of ENS, it is sitting at a mere $57 right now. So, the top I think has been set at least for a little bit, but I think that there's quite a future in ENS, and
I'm waiting for 30 to 40. That's my target for a pullback. It could go a little lower, but I'm very itchy to buy my position back. We know I love the concept,
so the bottom is going to be
closely.
42.
Right? What the dick for a tick? We talked about it.
You did.
Don't do it.
You talked about it. I've never heard that saying before in my life. All right, let's do some NFT talk right now. Obviously, the market has not been NFT focused, but yeah, some interesting signs. I had a friend reach out to me randomly yesterday on Instagram, shared a post about an NFT and buying it, and was like, "Hey, are these things legit?" Was like, well, yeah, I mean, I just quit my job to go do this full time, so I sure fucking hope so. But yeah, it's it is catching a lot of attention, and people are moving in. So
I must know, what NFT did he show you?
Actually, that's a good question. It was COVID punks.
Punks.
Yeah, I don't know how that came about. Something
curious.
No, I know something that I've looked at or I think was kind of around when I was first getting into NFTs. I've never owned one, but I kind of spoke with them about like what to look for in a project and whatnot. It was an interesting conversation, and it's kind of a cool way to kind of reteach yourself how to explain these concepts to people. But like, I mean, I looked at COVID punks and like, yeah, they're like really low volume, really low floor. It's almost kind of crossed that precipice of like the point of death where it's like 0.01 is the floor. But it was also interesting too because they were looking at some rarity tools, and they kind of scoped out one that was like in the top 1,000. They were like, this one seems pretty rare, like it looks rare, I guess, I don't know. But yeah, but then it opened up a whole new conversation just about how like, yeah, you can buy more rares in a project, whether it's COVID punks or anything else. But now all of a sudden is the question about native? No, not really. So
interesting.
Comfortable with the concepts though. They do work in finance. Didn't own a lot of crypto, but were willing to mess around in it. So we feel like it's in a bear market, and I mean that it is. But you know, right. You know, they seemed like really like, oh, I need to jump on this. I'm like, honestly, like you're not gonna miss anything in the next 5 days, I'm sure. I mean, obviously, bull markets can flip the switch at any point, but
right. Well, all through April and May and June, while NFTs were dead, and I mean deader than they are now, I would still have normies asking me about the Beeple set. It to them, this is still brand new and nothing has happened yet. Like they don't understand these local tops or these small violent cycles that we've gone through. This is complete Wild West to them, and there's a long way to go.
Yeah, and that was one of the concepts that definitely had to highlight was that like you really have to like DYOR for like finding the legitimacy of these projects and whatnot, because anybody could send you one and be like, these look cool, and if you're not familiar with it. Because like I was like, okay, well, it's a punk derivative. It's kind of got the Begins kind of derivative to it too, and I'm like, you know, derivatives don't really play super well. Some of them end up kind of striking gold, but you know, there was so much to take in, right? And it's just not one of those conversations you can have in an hour. They're like, well, why are CryptoPunks so big? And I'm like, honestly, like sometimes I don't fucking know, right? Like I do know, but like it's really just hard to like explain to somebody in 30 minutes how
what kind of entry point was he looking? What was this rare CryptoPunk priced at?
I think it was 0.02, so like a pretty digestible purchase, like straight from fiat. Yeah, and that's what I was wondering. I was like saying, I'm like, honestly, like if you're you know, not trying to mint and flip and make a quick profit, which is really hard in NFTs right now, your entry point probably needs to be more in the like, if we're talking from fiat, like $1,000 to $3,000 range to pick up a good, like a Began is one that I actually talked about and referred them to. So shilling our bags outside of AlphaMint, if you are ever question the legitimacy of our love for it. But I honestly, like Begans are like a perfect example. Like it's a 0.3 Ethereum, which, you know, when you put a USD price tag on it, it seems a little expensive for a JPEG. But, you know, when people start to wrap their heads around these concepts, like those are the ones that I think you need to get into, unless you're starting with low liquidity and you're going to be active and you want to do some minting, which is, you know, what we've been focused on. So
the robot that I follow always puts the USD price next to it, and even at this like depressed lower price, I'm like, wow, that Begon went for $1,000. Like what is happening? Okay, oh wait 0.3. What is that? Come on. just nuts. So that's why I was so curious as to what entry point like somebody with a fiat mind comes into this.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Yeah.
And I'll continue the conversation, and they actually might hop in AlphaMint too. Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, it should be pretty good. But definitely, when you start to talk to somebody outside of the crypto mindset, like you said, those dollar values become kind of strange and bizarre. Like, you know, I was trying to rationalize like the Galactic Apes, and I'm like, right now they're super low.
Yeah.
And then I was like, and I'm doing the math in my head, and you got to remember, I'm in Canada too, right? So now you're doing some exchange rates,
More
so add
math.
an extra 25% onto the prices that you're already saying, and so
Yeah.
I'm like, it's about zero point 0.5 Ethereum, which should run you about, I'm like, $3,500. I was like, it's like shit. I was like, but don't worry, they were about $17,000 a month ago. Oh man, it's such a weird dichotomy of those worlds,
Yeah.
and like, yeah, one ETH equals one ETH in my head a lot of the time. So
Sure.
anyways, let's move on for that. I'll definitely update on the conversation because I think it's always valuable to know kind of what people are looking at when they're trying to get into the space. But a general overview of NFTs. Normally this is done at the beginning of the show. We are doing it towards the end, but yeah, yesterday some up for women and weapons, which is up 75%. Bloot had a nice little 33% run after doing fuck all for about a month. And you want to talk about shit coins? No, let's not.
Beagles.
Yeah. Winter Bears, Kaiju Kings having a nice little rebound back up to a 1.4 ETH floor. It was down as low as 1.2 yesterday.
Just to clarify for people, that's the babies and the Genesis are in the same collection. So the floor is about half what the kaijus that minted are. These babies are created with art waste. So the floor jumping from 40% from 1 to 0.4 yesterday means that the one baby that was undercutting at 1 finally sold.
Sure.
It's
great point. Yeah.
It's a really, I don't care about the kaiju dynamics. It's a good way to understand how just looking at a floor price on WGMI does not give you close to the full story. So always dig a little deeper if it's a project that affects you.
Yeah, I think it's good for general trends. The 7-day is probably more preferable to look at just as a kind of a zoom out price action. But yeah, I mean, like you could go on, post your Kaiju King for like 0.2, like don't do it, but like that would show up on WGMI as like an absolute dump, right? Like if you manage to grab the snapshot at the right time. So completely valid point. If you want to zoom out to the 7-day, Ether Orcs are definitely the big winner there. Bounce back from about 0.4 to about 0.67, and I was scrolling around on them earlier, and like I actually never really took the time to look at them after the initial drop again because I was pretty salty about sitting on the sidelines, but they look pretty goddamn cool actually, even just some of the floor ones.
Yeah, these things, they're aesthetically appealing, and we talk about as profile pictures. I think as people wear them longer and longer, it's becoming one of the more noticeable things, at least in the inner NFT space right now. So again, this could be the lowest entry you're ever gonna have to the game, Genesis Orc wise. And I made a post in the DGen Dojo yesterday. I think we flagged it for the AlphaMint live stream. My orcs are pulling in 76 Zug a day, and I haven't leveled them up fully. When I level them up fully, I've just been waiting for gas to drop. There's no hurry. When I level them up fully, they'll be making about 96 Zug a day, which was at $1 yesterday. That's $100 a day in passive income. These beautiful NFTs I can use in a game and resell for a high value are paying me. So this could be the lowest Genesis Orcs ever are. It's a pretty good price entry for the game, and they are the big winner over the last 7 days.
Get it, girl. All right, and any projects that you're looking at right now? Again, the focus has definitely been shifted to the coin space, but I know. Actually, I don't know.
I don't know anything.
I don't know. Fuck all. I'm struggling here, man.
Yeah, I'm working, as we've talked about this last week, the DigiDragon and Little's whitelists, which are really difficult to get on. They're engagement-based, but not cheap engagement. This is like real engagement up to certain levels. They do very, very small random raffles. So I'm taking 2 things away from this. 1, my frustration that I can't get on either whitelist, but 2, remember how we talked about it is really easy to get on a lot of good whitelists all of a sudden. Like this 4-week periods, we're all nailing it. We're all on these great whitelists. And what happened? Over the last 4 weeks, nothing minted until recently. Nothing minted out. everything flopped. Nothing could stay above mint price, and now it's getting a little harder to get on these whitelists again. It seems that demand is at least back for the mints. Good projects are seeing people work hard to try to get on those whitelists, and it's not as easy as it was a few weeks ago. I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, and I think the general sentiment, as we've discussed in the past, is just that like maybe easy whitelists aren't good for the project because it's just it's almost a little bit too easy to jump in there, get on the whitelist, throw it into your
Kills
Discord
your
whitelist. Yeah, I think it even kills your mint, to be honest with you, because even if just like you take up a whitelist spot, and if you're not at the computer that day, you're like, fuck it, whatever. Unless it's a project that you're super hyped for, which generally has a lot of hype behind it anyways. If it's sitting there in your whitelist folder and you're like, maybe I'll mint if I'm around the computer, blah, blah, blah. If there's 10,000 people on that whitelist, there's probably a couple thousand of them that are in the same boat as you. Then the whitelist, the pre-sale mint starts to happen and there's no volume and everybody else is like, ooh, well, like maybe I don't want to mint this either, right? Now, all of a sudden, the whitelist mint is incredibly unsuccessful. It moves to public mint, and everybody's watching it going, well, if the whitelist people don't want it, why the fuck would I mint it?
Snowball effect.
Yeah, but I do think that is, like, from the onset, kind of, a decision-making process that was poor. And I think that...
Yeah.
I don't want to say that it started the bear market or anything like that. I think it was just a perfect storm of a couple of things hitting at the same time. But I think that trend really, really kind of fucked some projects up.
I think it was the natural conclusion of the bull market because projects that were good and were able to leverage that easily, like Kaiju, which we talked a lot about. Of course, all the copycats are going to come for them right at the top and try to imitate the same model. And, I think we've gotten through the worst of it, but it was certainly a sign of the top, and maybe it will repeat. I mean, let's be on watch for that next cycle, and just because these teams, we know a lot of them just want to sell out. They really don't care what happens afterwards. And if you can fill a whitelist, is going to sell out. Thanks for the money. Bye. You see that a lot. So it could be a regular sign of the top. Let's keep that in the back of our head.
The last thing that I wanted to mention, this was what I was stumbling over early, was that you were talking last week about the CloneX setting a hard date. Well, that date has been like set in, relatively speaking, set in
You
stone
heard it
now.
Here first. You heard the leak here first.
Yeah, you were half right. So the pre-sale is going live on the 18th.
Yes.
And the public sale hitting on the 20th, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is, I believe we pre-sale people will have 48 hours to do this, which I think in this current environment means shit all. You're probably paying twice for your CloneX what you would, but nobody cares because it's a 0.05 mint for the pre-sale. So the last thing I'll say about it as we head into CloneX week next week is I really, really hope they announce utility for those NFTs we own so they don't completely crash 90%.
The FUOs.
I do think they have the FUOs. Yeah. I mean, I do think they have the leverage and the power to do that. And again, no one's walking away too butthurt. They were 1E before they announced this, and if they fell to 1E and I got my 3 mints, it would be, no harm, no foul. But they have the ability to do it. Why not? Right? That's my, take care of your people if you can. So we'll see.
It'll be interesting to dissect this after the fact and kind of, in hindsight, look about like, would it have been better to sell the FUOs at 15 if you believe that there's not much utility for them after the fact, or it does, the CloneX drop just become so successful that like diamond handing those was a smart play? And I don't know, like it'll be really cool to use this as a case study for future drops like this, because inevitably there's going to be a super hype project again like this that, came from some kind of mint pass, kind of use it as a lesson. So definitely we'll be dissecting that after it happens.
Gonna be a week, man.
It's gonna be a week. Wait. And it also kind of feels like that little bit of like Groundhog Day too, right? Where it's just like, it'll be sorry, not like the movie, but like, you know, when the groundhog pops out, like, you know, is it going to be 2 more months of NFT winter, or is summer on the horizon, right? So it does seem like a signal.
It's a market mover.
Absolutely. All right. On that note, if anyone wants to jump up on the stage and come shoot the shit with us, have a quick chat, say hi, whatever, just throw your hand up. I'll invite you up onto the stage. I just wanted to also give a shout out to Drip Cult, who was posting his new AlphaMint mug, which is looking pretty sick. I'm gonna have to get one of them. Drip, did you get that? How'd you get that made? It just yeah. I come up on stage. No, he's probably busy, just listening in the background. But yeah, I actually had the AlphaMint hat kind of made too, looking at some samples for some stuff, but yeah.
See the people hand their mugs from home to the barista, and I'm like, wow, they're so environmentally conscious, and maybe I'll be one of those people. But yeah, you haven't seen that? And you know, this is New York City. This is granola crunchy, you know, all this type of stuff. They go in with their, and I think you even give you like 10 cents off or something, 5 cents off.
What a time to be alive.
Oh, yeah.
As I drink out of my Starbucks mug.
Well, between that and grabbing a really, really large handful of sugar packets to throw in your drawer at home as you leave the coffee place, this is how you reduce the price of your lattes. Uncle Free's tip of the day.
Bring your own mug.
No, steal the sugar. That's much more positive EV than bringing your own mug.
It's like the cheapest fucking commodity. You can buy like a bag of this stuff for like $4.
You know, the wealthy are wealthy for a reason. And if you watch, even Warren Buffett, he steals the sugar in the coffee place.
I love that like Twitter meme that's always going around. That's like how I ended up becoming a billionaire, and it was like, you know, stopped eating avocado toast and like all of these things. Yep. And then it was like a small $500 million loan from my parents.
Well, because there's been two quite famous boomer, might I add, analysts that have gone on CNBC and said the reason millennials are the lost generation is because they spend all their money on lattes and avocados.
Right. No, I completely remember that, but it was just it is hilarious. Yeah. It definitely has nothing to do with the wealth funneling up to old people.
Yeah, no. It's to the boomer generation, which controls more resources than any generation in history. Yeah. Proportionately, not that I'm, you know, a liberal governmental control guy. I'm pretty decentralized, but I do call it as I see it.
Well, I think one of the understated facts is that, like, people live a lot longer right now than they ever have too, right? Obviously, yeah. COVID put a little bit of a dent in the average age expectancy, but no, I'm just saying, like, the number has gone up and up and up, and as like the average population, you know, gets older, all of that wealth stays with them,
concentrated right? There, yeah, exactly.
Yep. But I can't remember the actual number, but they said, you know, comparing the life expectancy to the like where that demographic is, like in the next like 10-15 years, like we'll also see the greatest transfer of wealth down to millennials. It's like it's trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars that are basically just waiting in the wind, right?
I think it's why the inheritance tax is such a big topic in a lot of westernized countries right now, because governments see this windfall coming, and you know, all agencies exist to figure out how to allocate more money to that agency. I'm not saying they have bad intentions as an agency, but it's just how bureaucracy works. So, you know, they're all eyeing that money. How who can get the largest percentage? The guy who manages the pension fund, the government. We'll see.
Get that bag.
Yes, sir.
All right, I don't see any hands up right now. Offer still stands if anybody wants to jump up here, but a pretty quiet Friday morning. I think everybody was out celebrating their 100Xs yesterday.
Yeah, last night was the time to celebrate. This morning is the time to cry because everything's down 80% in shitcoin land. So, except of course GM, which is up only to the right.
I wonder what Wendy's been trading. She's kind of the OG degen of clouded ones.
Yeah, the options derivatives in the classic stock market, and this is just like I said, it's stocks on crack, for lack of a gentler term.
See some posts about something from the Vibe Discord about the DAO is working tirelessly to make this a long-term play. It's only day 2, friend. Let's keep vibing.
Yeah,
I'm sold. I'm aping in after that one.
I joined the Discord. It's 500 people. I was hoping to wake up to it being 2,000 or 3,000 people, which was a little disheartening. It is started by NFT guys, and they are going the blue chip DAO route, which I don't know what it means for the longevity of the project. Just hopefully that's enough PR to pump my bags. No French apples here.
I think DAOs should just start buying other DAOs and just have DAOs in DAOs, and then like just DAOception, and eventually something
This is
go absolutely crazy.
I'm not even kidding. This is literally what's happened in financial markets. Like, once hedge funds couldn't get a return, there were funds of funds. Like, funds of funds popped up, and it was just hedge funds that invested in other hedge funds. It's going to happen. It's not even a joke. It will be the next stage.
Wendy just says, retired options trader, full-time crypto trader.
Nice.
Welcome to the dark side.
And a big welcome to Panushi, who verified and is now a DGen Dojo member. Welcome, and be careful, the DGen catches on quickly. I feel terrible as the first NFT project that I got Panushi whitelisted for and in was snails. So I feel like I need to
What's wrong with the EVOSnails?
Well, they are completely depressed price-wise, but boy, if you are in the Moon Lounge, go check out that EVOSnails thread, because our AlphaMint members who have been rolling rares have been pulling some sick-looking snails. Here's another Uncle Free call. Those things are coming back. I don't know if it's this cycle, next cycle, or 3 from now. They are cool-looking. They are part of the 2021 on-chain history. And man, they are cool. Go check out that EVOSnails thread.
My biggest holdup on them is that, like, I look at the for sale ones, and like there's some that like look pretty cool and like look like they've been rolled, and like they're selling for like 0.05, which I know in gas could not be a positive EV play.
No, so here's what I would advise the head of snails to do, and I am going to go into the Discord and talk about it. The issue is that all the rare traits are going to be taken by people who didn't care about the money and who could afford to do it. He's going to be left with a lot higher ratio of floor snails than he probably expected when the game started. I would come up with a burning scheme in the next phase of the game, and I know he's going to be doing racing of the snails as one of his next phases. But what would be really cool is if you could burn a certain number of floor snails to maybe get some sort of rare or some sort of advantage in the racing. I think that would be a good suggestion to make to him, and this way it'll clean up when you go to shop, because it's true. Everything available for sale on the floor is ass. It's common. So unevolved snails, as they would say.
Yeah, I still have my one staking. Other than putting it into the contract, I've literally done nothing with it. So I'm gonna have to go read up on the snails chat and see what I should be doing. I don't know. Is it one of those plays where like I'm too late to do anything meaningful with it?
I'll tell you, if you if you have Leaf,
I do.
I believe the rare. Yeah, I believe that you should go roll if gas is low tonight or something. The rare pools still have things in them because no one is doing anything.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that even the rarest pool still has stuff. So if you have a bunch of Leaf, you might as well go roll a few times, make your guy purdy. Like I said, I like the snails. I do think they'll be back one day, and they're super good looking. Super good looking.
I am checking it out right now. What I have 25 leaf. I don't know.
20. Ooh, yeah.
I've got some
That's
weight.
not a lot.
That's not a lot. No. Okay. I was like,
No.
yeah.
It's cheap though. Like now, I'm pretty sure you could get like 100 leaf for less than 0.05. If I had to think, and you need.
Wouldn't it be better to just buy another Genesis, or
That's
two?
what I'm thinking. Yeah. I would actually see what's the cheapest high leaf producing snail you could get a couple of them farming leaf, and if someone were liquid, I wouldn't be opposed to sweeping as many as possible and trying to get their rarities up before
that's
the next phase,
because they obviously they generate more leaf the more rare they are, or the rolls that have happened. And like, I'm looking at the leaf price on the decks, and it's not terrible. It was like $2 a pop. I mean, that's $10 a day. Yeah, I'd have to do some math on that.
I'm not sure what liquidity is as far as extracting that, but I think that I think that the team is relatively smart and they will adjust coming up. So I like the staking plays, especially the good-looking ones, and this year will be looked back on. So, like the snails.
My general play with staking is just that hope that these the tokens that go along with it moon one day, and I can just dump whatever I've accumulated. And, like HeadDAO. Actually, HeadDAO's done some pretty cool stuff. It's kind of held its floor at around 0.3 right now, but the Head token had a little bit of a bounce back. But I don't know if I mentioned this the other day, but they're offering whitelist spots for like tough guys and stuff like that for their members. And
nice.
you burn Head tokens to get it. So nice to see that they're actually including some utility in those tokens and reducing the supply. I think it was
absolutely
20 or 50 head to grab the whitelist spot, which is pretty cool. So
nice.
Before we wrap up, I actually didn't even check to see if anyone had their hands up. I'm doubting it. But before we wrap up, I just wanted to give a shout out to Henry. He's not in here right now, but he's been doing the research write-ups every morning, and they are sharp. It's a pretty good read. It's like I would say it'd probably take you about 4 minutes to read, maybe not even that much, and just a really good recap of the NFT market over the course of the last 24 hours. So big shout out to Henry, and we got to find some time for him to come on the show and chat with him. He's in college right now, and it'll be interesting to have a conversation about what that age demographic views crypto, NFTs, all of those things.
Yeah, they are really in depth. We're talking basically analyst reports like you would get on a finance. They remind me of the reports that our humble leader Scott used to do on DeSo users or BitClout users. He would do these pretty cool long profile posts, and whether as an analyst he thought it was a buy or sell and their coin was overvalued. Really great job, Henry. We hope to have you up here soon.
Yeah, amazing. All right, friends. I guess on that note, we will wrap the show up for Friday. I'm probably going to spend some time in voice chat today if anyone wants to hop down there and just hang out for a little bit while I'm looking into some stuff. So that'd be pretty cool. I don't know if you have some time free, Mark, if you want to jump down there too. But I'm going to stop the recording right about here. So thanks for tuning in. Managed to get into the double digits in audience, so appreciate everybody slowly crawling in there on this Friday. I wish everyone the best of luck on the weekend, and we will do this all again on Monday morning.
Good morning. We're going to make it.
GM, WGMI, PN, friends, sir. We out.
Good night.